perspectives. We do have an open phone line, and people are listening on the phone, and I would just ask them to put their phone on mute so that we won't hear the proverbial barking dog that we often hear. But we're going to go to that after we hear from you in the audience. We're going to go and see if anybody on the phone has a comment, and then we'll go back to you here in the audience. I've already introduced Victor McCree, and in terms of our panelists, why don't we go for introductions to the panel. Tony?
Thank you, Chip. My name is Tony Godey. I'm the director of the Division of Fuel Facility Inspection in Region 2, which is in Atlanta. Our responsibility is to inspect, enforce NRC regulations, and assess the performance of this licensee.
My name is John Kinnaman. I'm director of the Division of Fuel Cycle Safety and Safeguards in our headquarters office in Rockville, Maryland. My job is to work with my staff to both develop the program for inspection of the fuel facility licensees, including Honeywell, and to conduct technical evaluations and licensing reviews to determine whether those facilities should be licensed or not.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jonathan Bucket. I'm the director of the Illinois Emergency Management Agency.
Good evening. My name is Brett Abel. I'm the Vice President of the Integrated Supply Chain for Performance Materials and Technologies. That's Honeywell. I have the responsibility for the whole integrated supply chain, which includes 40-some plants around the world. And specifically, the Metropolis site is a unique site because it reports directly to me, so I get here quite often.
I would like to thank everyone that's come out tonight. My name is Billy McDaniel. I'm the mayor of the city of Metropolis, and here as a representative of the city to represent each and every one of our citizens.
I'm Larry Douglas. I'm the coordinator of emergency management for Massac County, and I'm here to represent the county and speak to any issues anyone might have. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. I just want to emphasize that we're here tonight to focus on safety issues because safety is the NRC's responsibility. We know there's a lot of other concerns, important concerns in the community, such as jobs and economic conditions, but we'd like to focus on safety issues tonight and safety questions. And with that, just a couple of housekeeping details. Again, we have a sign-in sheet for everybody in the back. We have comment forms on the meeting. And emergency exits, one there that says do not open, but maybe in an emergency you can open it. Okay, the mayor said we could open it, so that's good enough for all of us. Right. Thank you, Larry. And of course, exit there, and there's an exit over here. And with that, Victor McCree.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Victor McCree. I'm the regional administrator for the Nuclear Regulatory Commission Region 2 office in Atlanta, Georgia. Let me begin by thanking you for being here. I don't take it for granted that you come out on a Thursday night, shortly after dinner. Some of you may have missed dinner just to join us. So thank you so much for that. For those of you who were able to join us for the open house, you probably saw the beautiful signs back there that have good information about the NRC and what we do and why we're here. But just briefly, NRC is a federal agency responsible for overseeing the safety of facilities that use licensed radioactive material in the United States. And we do that in a number of ways. We actually create the regulations that actually assure safety. We license facilities such as Honeywell to actually use the material and make sure that it's operated so that people are protected, both workers and people in the community, and the environment is protected. And we also conduct inspections. In fact, that's one of the chief responsibilities of my office in Atlanta is to conducting inspections and oversight that make sure that facilities such as Honeywell that use radioactive materials do so safely by complying with our requirements first and foremost. And when they're not in compliance, we have the tools, including enforcement actions, civil penalties, orders, and so forth, that we can use to assure compliance. As a responsible regulator, we have principles and values that guide what we do. Chief among them are independence. We're an independent regulator, so we are objective in the way that we approach the work that we do. We're open. Openness is a key principle as well as a value. It's one of the reasons why we're holding this meeting that's open to the public. We're required by statute to do what we do publicly. There's public involvement in a number of different ways, and again, this is just one of them. We are respectful of both the licensee who regulate, such as Honeywell, and their views, as well as views of members of the public. So there are a number of things that drive what we do and how we do it. So why are we here? On March 11th of last year, March 11th, 2011, one of the largest earthquakes in recorded history struck off the northeast coast of Japan, about 80 miles off the northeast coast. It was 9.0 on the Richter scale, resulting in significant damage in the northern area of Japan. That earthquake spawned a very large tsunami, over 45 feet tall, that struck along the northeast coast. It affected and damaged several nuclear power plants, including the Fukushima Daiichi site, and it knocked out all off-site power. All power at the site was lost, and within about 3 days, there was core damage on 3 of the 6 operating reactors, and because of the hydrogen buildup, which is naturally happens when there's fuel damage, and it leaked into the containment building. There were hydrogen explosions of those buildings. You may recall seeing them on television. There were a number of lessons learned from that devastation. It was a tragic event. Over 19,000, almost 20,000 people lost their lives as a result of the seismic event and the tsunami. About 3,000 were missing. There were over 70,000 people as a result of the release of radiation from Fukushima Daiichi who remain displaced and cannot reoccupy their homes and businesses. NRC's reaction to that was swift and broad, actually. Within a few days, we dispatched people over to the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo to provide support not only to the government of Japan, but also the U.S. citizens there. Within weeks, we had established a team to look at the lessons learned to determine whether nuclear facilities in the United States were vulnerable to a Fukushima-like event or to a significant seismic event or tsunami. And within 90 days, we issued a report that indicated that the nuclear facilities in this country were safe, but that additional actions needed to be taken. And earlier this year, in fact, on March 12th, we issued a number of orders and demands for information, widespread and significant actions for additional steps to be taken at nuclear facilities. We also decided that we needed to take a harder look at fuel cycle facilities, such as Honeywell. And we recognize that even though the earthquake and the tsunami did not affect fuel cycle facilities in Japan, and in fact the hazards associated with fuel cycle facilities are significantly different than those in operating reactors, we thought it prudent to examine whether the natural hazards that could happen and are part of what we call the design basis, so credible natural hazards such as tornadoes and seismic events and flooding at fuel cycle facilities, whether those facilities actually met their design basis and could withstand such an event, and also to discern how much margin, if you would, how much margin above the design basis, what we call beyond design basis events, there actually was at those facilities. So we started those inspections last September. In May of this year, we conducted the inspection at Honeywell, the 20th of May. And we found some significant concerns associated with the assumptions that Honeywell uses for, again, what we call a credible seismic event or tornado. And specifically what we found is that equipment in the process building, in the feed material building, was not adequately designed to withstand a significant seismic event or tornado. There was inadequate seismic bracing and supports and so forth. And again, the significance of that is that the assumed release of uranium hexafluoride or hydrogen fluoride could be significantly beyond what's included in the licensing basis. And that affects the accuracy and the validity of the emergency response plan. And most importantly, because a significant chemical release could affect workers, could affect public, we engaged Honeywell's management, including Mr. Abel, on that issue, and they agreed that the facility should remain shut down until those issues were resolved. So earlier this summer, in mid-July, I issued a letter confirming Honeywell's commitment to keep the facility shut down until those issues were resolved. And a month or so ago, mid-October in fact, after Honeywell committed to take a series of actions to systematically address all of those concerns, I issued an order, a confirmatory order, identifying what those issues are. And they include Honeywell's commitment to submit an evaluation of the types or the range and the significance of significant natural events like tornadoes or earthquakes that it could withstand, that could be experienced here in the Metropolis area. To also identify what structures, systems, and components in the facility would be relied on to ensure the safety of the facility, and also to submit a quality assurance plan that would be used to ensure that any changes made at the facility are acceptable. And also, if there's a need to modify the emergency response plan, to also submit that to the NRC and actually conduct an emergency preparedness exercise prior to any decision that NRC would make to allow a restart. So what we intend to do when we receive that signal from Honeywell is NRC will evaluate that to determine its acceptability. We will conduct inspections to verify the adequacy of any modifications that the facility makes. And based on those reviews and our inspections, we'll determine whether Honeywell is safe to operate. So what I'd like to do tonight, and we have a great panel of people here who are able to address questions that you might have, as Chip Cameron alluded to, associated with where we are on the safety issues at Honeywell and our path forward. But I'd like to be able to respond to any questions that you have as we go through the evening. So at this point, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Mr. Brett Abel for Honeywell.
Good evening again. I really would like to thank the NRC for hosting this meeting tonight, because I think it's getting out information to all of you in the community that you would be very much interested in hearing. There's no question about that. So on behalf of Honeywell, it's my pleasure to be able to be here to participate in this panel discussion. Mr. McCree laid out a whole lot of sequence of events to get us to the point of where we are here tonight, so I don't need to really go back over those, other than to state some things that might be informative to all of you, too. One thing for certain, safety is a top priority at Honeywell. I try to impress this every day upon our people in a couple of different ways. One is we have a mantra that we live by and try to live by and try to drive our continuous improvement program by. It's called 0-0-0. That's 0 incidents, that's 0 environmental excursions, and that's 0 non-compliances when it comes to the regulatory areas. We haven't been perfect in that regard, but we are making great strides and great improvements here in Metropolis, and I think that is something that I'm very proud of, and I'm proud of the Metropolis team to do. The NRC has been overseeing a lot of those improvements. The other way that this safety manifests itself, and this is something I would like you to realize too, I have an operational philosophy that I've described to a lot of different people about what our plants should really be focused on. And I put it under the context of sustainability. We want sustainable assets. And what I mean about sustainability, I'm talking about we have assets that are in the ground in the communities of where we operate that guarantee the health, safety, and well-being of our employees and the communities of where we operate. So in that regards, we're in lockstep with the NRC's oversight of the Metropolis facility. That's one of the reasons why we agreed very early in the game when this post-Fukushima temporary instruction audit came forward with its findings. We immediately said we're shutting down the site too, and we're not going to restart it until we address the issues. So those are two things you need to be aware of, because those are things that we try to live by day in and day out in our operational philosophy. We're pleased to be moving forward with the upgrades to the plant that really meets the stringent requirements of the NRC in regards to upgrading this facility and getting it to an area of increased safety efficacy going forward. And we are making great progress on that. You know, the focus has really been on the safety, quality, and time-driven nature of those improvements so we can get back into production in this facility. And I know for maybe many in this room that's the thing you would like to hear, because recently we have announced that as of June 1st next year, we plan to be starting this facility back up. Now we have a lot of things to go through and a lot of gates to go through, but nonetheless, we are focused on doing that in the best possible way to get us there. And again, I'll emphasize safety, quality, and the time-driven nature. So I think we're making tremendous progress towards that. Our teams are focused on that. We review that progress weekly, and we are getting to the point where I feel pretty confident we can get there. So one of the other questions you might have that is probably aside from the safety that I'll address now. That means as we start up on June 1st, we'll be calling back people on an as-needed basis to help us get ready to get this facility to be able to run come June 1st of next year. I don't have exact timing of all that, but it's going to happen. We're going to be bringing people back on an as-needed basis and an activity basis to get that done. So I think, again, as I said, the upgrades are progressing well. I'm pretty confident we're on schedule to be able to do what we said we're going to do. I'm very confident that our design basis will meet these very stringent post-Fukushima requirements, and we're working very diligently to get that done. So, again, I want to thank the NRC for hosting tonight. And Mayor.
Thank you.
Yep.
And let's hear from the mayor. Thank you, Mr. Abel.
Like I said, it's good to be here. It was an honor for NRC to ask me to participate in this. It's a good feeling in your hometown to look out in the audience and I see many, many, many years of experience that has gone in our plant. I see many people that spent their lifetime and have retired, many of the workers. We're blessed here in the city of Metropolis that we live in a community that the union has kept me informed on about every move. They know they're welcome to come. We talk a lot about different things, but we're also fortunate to have a plant manager like Larry Smith that is easy to sit down, talk about, keep us informed as a city of what's going on. NRC, I can't say enough about their safety issues. We're blessed to have them that in any given situation, the news media are pretty fast. When something happens, I can actually say that NRC is faster than news people. They usually send me an email or a telephone call of any issue that comes up just as soon as it happens, which makes my job much easier. Safety is the main reason we're here tonight. I'm going to use a little bit of a I'm going to keep it on safety. I was asked to keep it on safety, and I am going to keep it on safety. I'm just kind of going around just a little bit to get to the safety. I'm happy to say that we have great cooperation. I think if there is anything good that comes out of the situations that's happened in the last several months, in the last year and a half, is put our community closer together. It's brought some issues up that probably have fallen through the cracks of the many, many years that plan has been in operation. One of the main issues when NRC sent the word down that, yes, we're going to close the plant down until it's safe. We sat down at the meeting in Honeywell with Larry Smith and several of the NRC people. One of the main objections that I had was that when all of our people in our community are back to work, union and company, there are people, no matter what it is, they're a close-knit bunch. Honeywell is going to take the same initiative inside their plant that we as a city and the county government have maintained since this started. We're very familiar here in our county with emergencies. We've had the worst ice storm in 100 years. We had the worst flood in 100 years. We've had 2 tornadoes. And everybody pulls together. We have established the very, very, very best emergency service of any place in southern Illinois, I guarantee you. There's nothing that we can't handle if it comes about. In a situation like Honeywell's, you only have one experience like that probably. So I do commend NRC in making our plant here in Massac County the very safest it can be when all of our employees come back to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's go to Jonathan. Jonathan, to give us a state perspective.
Sure, thanks. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to extend a special thank you to Mayor Billy and the City of Metropolis. As always, we have exceptional hospitality, so we appreciate that. And for the participation of the NRC and Honeywell to be here, I think it really shows the fact that we are an integrated effort, and that's the important part. So some of the information that we have in the back, if you had a chance to see it, obviously for Illinois Emergency Management Agency, our focus is on the safety of the public, regardless of the circumstances. Whether it's a man-made or natural disaster, that's what we're here for. What some of you might not know is what used to be the Illinois Department of Nuclear Safety since 2003 is actually part of IEMA. So we also have the nuclear safety function for the state of Illinois. So some of the information that's back there, it's important to note that we have really 2 functions when it comes to nuclear safety as it pertains to the Honeywell facility here. The first is what we do all the time, every single day. So we have automated environmental monitoring systems that are in place around the Honeywell facility and dosimeters that are in place around the city, constantly taking air samples and measurements just to make sure that there's nothing harmful in the area around here. That's something that we do regularly. We take environmental samples, so we take water samples every quarter at 3 different locations, both upstream, downstream, and then from the general water supply. We take vegetation samples every year. These are the types of things that we do regardless of what's happening to make sure that the public is safe. And that's just part of the nuclear safety program. That's what we do all the time. The second part of the nuclear safety function that we perform is the response. If there is an incident that requires the involvement of our Division of Nuclear Safety, we have a lot of capabilities that we can bring to bear so that every city and every county in the state doesn't have to replicate that capability. Obviously, I think we all know that we don't have the money to be able to do that. But we do have that capability, and we are very closely linked in with both the Honeywell facility and the surrounding local government entities. As Mayor Billy accurately mentioned, we've had a lot of presence here in the last couple of years. That's because you folks have gone through a lot of disasters. But that's also really fine-tuned our skill set, knowing that we know who to work with, how to work with them, what resources you have and don't have, what we can do to help out. So on the nuclear safety side, those are the capabilities that we bring to bear both all the time and if they're needed. Additionally, just in the broader scope of emergency management, a big part of what we need to do is to try and prepare for the worst-case scenario. So what we're really talking about at this point is what really brought about this change was a significant seismic activity. So in Japan, obviously, they experienced an earthquake beyond the magnitude of anything they'd seen before. And that's one of our concerns in this area of the country. So the New Madrid seismic zone, the last time they had a major earthquake was in 1811, 1812. And it was about a 7.4 magnitude earthquake. States involved in the process. And thanks to some of the relationships developed with the NRC and Honeywell, we'll have a fully integrated exercise approach to that process the next time around. There's been significant access granted by Honeywell to both our personnel at the state level, the county level, and the city level to make sure that we have a better understanding of what's happening in the facility and what risks are associated with the processes that are conducted there, the materials, the chemicals that are kept there, and what we would need to do to respond. And the best thing about what the NRC has done to step in and say these are additional safety protocols structurally and what people need to do in response helps us out significantly. Because when we look at what the situation could have been prior to these improvements that are being made, I can tell you the impacts would have been significantly worse. But now that we can integrate that into our planning system, we know that we have a better idea of what you need, when you need it, if something of this magnitude were to occur. Because it really would be a national level response to do it, and we would need to commit significant resources to this area if something like that were to happen. So while we certainly hope that the worst case scenario does not occur, that does not absolve us of the responsibility of being prepared for it. And that's exactly why we're here. That's why we're here tonight. That's why we do what we do on a daily basis to make sure that the community is safe. And that's why we take the extra steps in the training and exercise world to make sure that we're prepared for that eventuality. And I certainly look forward to your questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. And let's go to Larry Douglas. Larry.
Thank you, and I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I'm the emergency coordinator here in Massac County, and I would coordinate resources. And as we did in the flood, we worked closely with the city of Metropolis, and I cohort back Keith Davis. He's the emergency manager for Metropolis, and our first responders. And we got those guys in the back too. Some of them. We rely on our resources to respond to any incident in the county, which would include Honeywell. We have plans, we exercise, and we hope that we don't have to do that. But with all that said, I came on to this job about 3 years ago, and I come from an industry background. I was in the power industry, and you can't say everything's perfect. And I started asking a lot of questions and got to know the guys out at Honeywell, and I think in the last 3 years, a lot of things have changed there. And I think even out of maybe some feelings like the mayor during the labor problems, some good things came out of that. And one thing, we had several meetings that we met with NRC on it. They were here. They listened to some of the things we talked about. And some of the things concerned the things they're now looking at because of the national disaster that happened over in Japan. And with that in mind, we, like the mayor mentioned, we've had several, like the flood and the 2 tornadoes here in Massac County that potentially could have been a lot worse if we had F4s or if we hit the plant out there. So we have, people here that can respond, but if you actually had a major earthquake like we're talking about, we'd probably go over our resources and we'd be looking through the state of Illinois and maybe to our neighbors across the river who we have here tonight from the emergency management over there. We do partner with them and try to help over there. They help over here if they can too. So we are prepared for what we can handle. And from there, we'll be looking for outside sources to come in to help this problem. But I look forward to trying to answer any questions you have, and again, I want to thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Larry. Thank all of you on the panel. And now we're going to go on to you to begin our discussion. Anybody have a question or something that they'd like to address to the panel? Let's start back here. Anybody out here? Okay, well, let's go up front. And if you could just please introduce yourself to us, sir.
Employees that are out there right now, and that's always a good thing. But we also have several of the retired workers here tonight. What we do is Commonwealth Environmental Services. And I'm the president of that company. As we promote the Energy Employee Occupational Illness Program, and we have made some efforts to include some of the employees here with the union and all the workers at the plant under the Part B Part B radiation exposure, but more importantly, the Part E compensation program, which we've recently submitted some documents which should make everybody, and maybe some anybody here from the union work or from the workforce, if you have filed a claim, I think it's very important that we continue to communicate, and you all probably have supported our operation, whether you knew it or not, by providing documents for those workers. And it's sort of, as some of these issues came up with Fukushima, it gave a lot of us opportunities to share information, and I've already shared some with a group of you all, that some of the toxic chemicals that were associated with the reprocessing of some of the feed materials, those qualify the workers for Part E compensation, because they're actually under the law. If you all were not aware of this, it did qualify the union workers for Part E since they were working on behalf of DOE. And we have several of our co-workers, or my co-workers at the Paducah plant in the audience, and one of them is responsible for me working at the Paducah plant, but I won't mention who it is, and I don't want to embarrass him. He could get in trouble now. But again, looking back, what we're excited about is, as we have this public meeting tonight, we want to be able to communicate with all of you all and further emphasize the Part E qualifications. And it's been very rewarding and enjoyable to represent the Honeywell workers and workers across the nation. Our company is probably one of no more than a handful of companies that actually contest the claims. We will return $4 million worth of claims to date, and look to do probably another $20 million. But until tonight, you haven't heard that Part E claims, the health part of this operation, is now covered to the way we're arguing it before DOL. We're going to look forward to serving you all and maybe continue to work with you and help support the workers here.
Thank you very much, sir. And I think that
I've got one thing. I want to introduce Mr. Jerry Oliver and another gentleman, and I forgot your name, if you don't mind, the gentleman here with the tape recorder. These are former workers that work and are now retirees, and they provided much of the background information that allowed us to know what they were doing back, and maybe we can share that with right here. So it gives them the qualifications of as a DOE employee. You all, as all agencies, are separated, and as we pull the technical basis document for the Honeywell plant, we actually found some of the information of what was accepted at the plant that you all probably could be to better understand some of the early days.
okay. Thank you very much. And okay, thank you. And if anybody has questions about this, please talk to this gentleman after the meeting. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, sir. Let's go back here, and if you could just introduce yourself to us, please.
Yes, my name is Matt Carlson. I'm a former employee of Honeywell, and more importantly, a citizen. I live about 500 yards across the road. We talked a lot about safety, and we know, first of all, I want to say thank you for Honeywell doing everything they're doing to make this community more safe. NRC stepping in to watch, make sure everything is going the way it should. But my concern is, as a former Honeywell employee, the last 7 years I worked there, I was laid off 4 times. Now, you can't blame Honeywell. It's obviously good. You can't employ 200 plus people when a plant's not running, so the current layoff is understandable. But we all know that a high turnover rate in a facility like this could pose a significant safety issue. I have a wife and a 14-month-old little girl across the road here. So more concerning to me is going on from here in the future, what type of employment continuity are we going to have? And are we going to have a little more normalcy with the employees there? Because, you know, experience, you can have all the safeguards in the world, somebody turns the wrong valve, all that means nothing. I'm just curious if that's a safety issue, what the future plans look like for employment issues and turnover rates at Honeywell Metropolis.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Tony, do you want to talk to the safety issue in terms of continuity of the workforce, and then maybe Mr. Abel wants to say something about that also. But this is Tony.
Sure, Chip. Matt, thanks for the question. It's a good one. We've already started the dialogue internally on what we're going to do to verify that workers, as they return back to work, exhibit the right attitudes and qualifications to do the job properly. And we'll conduct very thorough and detailed inspections and observe training and qualifications to ensure that the workers that are on site are qualified to do their job, as we did in the past. And that's our primary focus, to ensure that the workers that are on the site are capable of doing a good, safe job and operate that plant safely for you and your family.
And Mr. Abel, do you have anything that you want to say about the safety issue, about stability and continuity of the workforce?
Well, I have something to add, yes. It's a good question, and I have not lived through some of those ups and downs that unfortunately you had to live through. It's our intent, you know, as I go back and talk about our operational philosophy, that's our philosophy of trying to sustain a business too. One of the things that I did mention when I talked about sustainability is looking out after the health, you know, safety and well-being of our employees and communities. That's a responsibility we all take very seriously when we run chemical sites. It's just not the Metropolis site, it's all chemical sites. But there's another aspect of that, sustainability. That's called the economic viability or the economic profitability of the asset that you're running. You have to have a business that makes money. I think that probably competes for everybody. You have more money coming in than going out. It hasn't necessarily been the case all the time in Metropolis. From what I understand, it's not been the case too often in Metropolis. I think that what we have done in the last few years, you know, I've been associated with it, and the team that we have in place has been associated with it. We're really looking out after the man, materials, machines, and methods of what we have there to ensure that we deliver that sustainability. Going back to the health, safety, and well-being of employees and communities. I think we've really upped our game on the methodology. I think we understand the materials better. I think one of the things that's going to result from what we're doing here over the next few months, post-Fukushima, on the seismic issues and the tornado issues that we face in the plant, is going to deal with the processes even that much better. So I think we're going to end up taking on a lot of what it is that we really need to do to guarantee the safety for people like yourself, Matt. As far as the people are concerned, if we can fulfill our sustainability ambitions and live up to that mantra, we have a sustainable equation because we will deliver economic profitability. So maybe we will not see those things in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Fred. Other questions, comments? Yes, sir. We'll go back to you. And just introduce yourself to us.
My name's Stephen Lack. I'm president of the Steelworkers Local. And I guess this is more directed to the NRC. When this panel was created, I see people from different agencies, somebody from Honeywell, someone representing the city. Where's the worker representative?
I think that the NRC, obviously, we tried to keep it to governmental representatives, but we had to have the licensee up there, I think, for obvious reasons, and we wanted to focus it on safety concerns and emergency response concerns, and that's why it was see up here, but I'm going to ask the NRC if anybody would like to speak to that. Victor?
It's a very good question, and I think Chip answered the question exactly in the manner that I would have. When we identified the safety issues in May, I engaged Mr. Abel and Mr. Smith on what the position of the facility was and what their plan was going forward. They committed to maintaining the facility shut down, which I confirmed. Later this fall, when Honeywell management decided that it would invest in the facility to enable it to resume operations, I engaged Mr. Abel and Mr. Smith on the path forward and confirmed that in an order. But I wanted to here in Metropolis, we've not had a meeting of this sort here before, where it's the NRC and certainly the panel members from the state and the county and the mayor and the licensee involved in a discussion like this. And for those of you who did ask questions, and if you didn't, I do hope that it was a benefit to you. Because it was unprecedented, we took the opportunity to have some very capable people, certainly from, again, the state and county and locals join us, but also Mr. Scott Moore, who's the Deputy Office Director of the Office of Nuclear Material Safety and Safeguards in our headquarters office in Rockville, Maryland, is here, and a number of people who didn't get an opportunity to introduce themselves, but a range of experts from both Atlanta, from Washington, and also other offices. We have an expert in seismology and emergency preparedness, and a number of different areas to entertain questions that you may have had. And in fact, we have this building for a little while yet, and I don't think anyone has any place to go quickly. So if you didn't feel comfortable standing up and asking the questions, we'll certainly be here for a while and can answer them separately. So where do we go from here? I think you've heard over the course of our discussion, the fact that Honeywell Metropolis Works remains shut down as they committed to be requested by Honeywell for NRC's permission to restart. And based on those reviews, independent reviews that we do, the independent inspections we'll do, we'll make a decision on the adequacy of the plant to restart. Before the plant restarts, we'll provide an opportunity for another public meeting, perhaps in this venue, and there'll be an opportunity for you to engage NRC perhaps in more rigorous questions than we had tonight, and we certainly look forward to that. So before I close the meeting, are there any follow-up questions or comments? Anything from the panel members like to share? And before I terminate, is there anyone on the phone again that may have a question for us? Lacking any? Thank you very much. I'm sorry, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me get out of here. Yes, sir. Please introduce.
My name is George Yates. I'm a former Allied employee serving on the Birmingham County Hill District Metropolis Works for 38 years. And I'd like to ask Honeywell why they run this plant the way they do, and for less than 20 years they've had one major shutdown after another, and Allied run it for 40 some odd years, done all the NRC compliances, kept all their people basically employed. And I'm just one of many that can say they've served 30 plus years. My son-in-law works at Honeywell now. He tells me that probably in 2 years he's going to be one of the top hourly employees. He's got 17 years. I can't understand why they can't keep their people and why they run the plant the way they do.
Okay, thank you, sir. I don't know if Mr. April wants to say anything about that at all. We'll just treat it as a comment, and thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else? I'm a little bit afraid to have any rate, as he said, we do have a lot of experts here from the state, from the counties, NRC. So just feel free to talk to them. They'll stay here and talk as long as you want to talk. Okay. So thank you all for